In the previous video, we saw how to determine a thread. We now move on to the third video of this section, using a thread in a subclass. In this video, we'll define a new subclass. Then we'll override a method to add additional arguments. Further, we'll override a method to implement what the thread should do when it's started. After creating a new subclass, we'll create an instance of it and then start a new thread. So let's begin. We'll now see how to use a thread in a subclass. To implement a new thread using the threading module, you have to do the following. 1. Define a new subclass of the thread class. 2. Override this method to add additional arguments. 3. Then you need to override the runSelfArgs method to implement what the thread should do when it's started. Once you've created the new thread subclass, you can create an instance of it and then start a new thread by invoking the start method, which will, in turn, call the run method. To implement a thread in a subclass, we define the myThread class. It has two methods that must be overridden with the thread's arguments. The threading module is the preferred form for creating and managing threads. Each thread is represented by a class that extends the thread class and overrides its run method. Then, this method becomes the starting point of the thread. In the main program, we create several objects of the myThread type. The execution of the thread begins when the start method is called. Calling the constructor of the thread class is mandatory. Using it, we can redefine some properties of the thread as the name or group of the thread. The thread is placed in the active state of the call-to-start method and remains there until it ends the run method, or you throw an unhandled exception to it. The program ends when all the threads are terminated. The join command must handle the termination of threads. Let's run the Python file to obtain the output. Open your command prompt and run the file using the command shown. The output produced will look like this. Awesome! So now we know how to use a thread in a subclass. In our next video, we'll focus on thread synchronization with lock.